I love original Shalai. She's one of my favourite cards from Dominaria block. I've played her in multiple formats. I've played her in Modern at the top end of D&T. Big fan. Hallar, I know very little about, and as a kicker payoff, so I've ignored. But now we have Shalai and Hallar as the duo combo from Dominaria in the Commander decks. A Angel Elf legendary creature that is Naya colours, white, green, red, and 1 mana of any other for a 3/3 with flying and vigilance. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, Shalai and Hallar deal that much damage to target opponent. This card is cracked. It's a synergistic pile of molten death. It's a commander that doesn't just draw you cards, something that I'm trying desperately to stop myself from playing because I end up always gravitating towards the value piles. Instead, an aggressive synergy pile is much more up my street for how I'm trying to play commander currently. This card will go infinite with a ham sandwich, but also has huge, powerful, and very fun synergistic combos. Let's talk about some of my picks for how I'm probably going to build Shalai and Hallar. And if you're looking to pick up any of the cards in this video or pre-order singles or sealed product from CoolStuffInc.com, use the link in the description below to get 5% off your order, and you can also still sign up for Command Fest Orlando via the website now. Let's get the combos out of the way. Shalai and Hallar goes infinite with a few things. The first is War Elemental that spiked yesterday or the day before when Shalai was spoiled. A red Elemental 1/1 from original Mirrodin. When War Elemental comes into play, sacrifice it unless an opponent was dealt damage this turn. You must attack or ping your opponent first before deploying it. And whenever damage dealt to an opponent, put a +1/+1 counter on War Elemental. Or that many +1/+1 counters on War Elemental. How this works, you got to ping or deal damage to your opponent with War Elemental in play. So War Elemental in play from the previous turn, you attack, for example, or you ping them with some damage. That will trigger that whenever damage is dealt to an opponent, put a +1/+1 counter on War Elemental, which will then trigger Shalai and Hallar. You put 1 counter on, let's say, you ping them for 1. That 1 triggers War Elemental again, putting another counter on War Elemental, and then you go ahead and ping them again. And on and round it goes, and the entire table is dead. Infinite combo, 2-card combo, quite easy. At least War Elemental is triple red. Next up is an alternate version to War Elemental, which is the red terror from the Warhammer 40k Tyranid precon. It is 4 mana legendary creature Tyranid. It's a 4/3 with advanced species as a flavorful ability. Whenever a red source you control deals damage to 1 or more permanents and or players, put a +1/+1 counter on the red terror. So in essence, if someone blocks, you block, something happens involving a red creature where damage is up to a permanent or a player, you put a counter on the red terror. That triggers Shalai and Hallar, that then triggers the red terror, and we go back into a loop where everyone is dead. Infinite combo, 2-card combo with an easier to cast but slightly more expensive second piece. Let's get into the more elaborate infinite combos now. Heli the Sun Crowned is an indestructible 3 mana 5/5. I'm pretty sure you've all seen this card. It sees play in Historic, in Pioneer, in Modern. This is a part of a combo deck in multiple formats. I did a big video talking about how I thought this might be even a problem. It's going to be in so many combo decks. Those combo decks haven't dominated, but they have been a big part of meta games ongoing in non-rotating format. He's indestructible, he becomes a creature if you get a certain amount of devotion. None of that is important. What is important is whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. And for 2 mana, another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. So what you do is you give Shalai and Hallar you give them lifelink. You then trigger them by putting a counter on something or attacking and dealing damage. They gain the life, trigger Heli, put a counter onto Shalai. Trigger, ping them, Shalai has lifelink, gain the life, trigger Heli, put a counter on Shalai, trigger, the entire table is dead, and you've gained all the damage as life. Slightly more elaborate combo because you have to hit to trigger it and you have to give lifelink for 2 mana and yada yada yada, but it's not that hard. Then we have a slightly more elaborate version of that, which is Archangel of Thune for 5 mana, flying, lifelink, 3/4 angel. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So the lower end of this is that you hit with her with lifelink or hit with something with lifelink, trigger, put counters on your whole team, and each counter go onto a creature will trigger Shalai. Oh, not each. It says whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, Shalai and Hallar deal that much damage to target opponent. So you just deal a chunk of damage equal to the number of counters being put on by the ability. So it's a synergistic piece, right? But again, go back to Shalai and Hallar having lifelink off of a Basilisk Collar or a Shadow Spear or Loxodon Warhammer or whatever it is you want to use to give them lifelink. Now you've got an infinite loop again. Bada bing, bada boom, you've got a 2-card combo almost. It's like a 2.5-card combo because there's a million and one ways to give your commander lifelink. So that's all of the infinite combos I could find, so let's talk a little bit about some synergy pieces. Big fan of Gathering Township as a card in general. It activates to put counters on all your team. It's in your mana base, so it's not a spell slot. And also, I didn't know this secret lair existed, and this is gorgeous. It's a really stark contrast of the sunset or the moonrise, or whatever that is in the background of the building with the lit windows at night. If anything, is testament to the fact that the black art style of Magic cards that we saw with Midnight Hunt's Crimson Vows double feature thing works if the card is designed with it, or if there's a redesign to up the contrast of whites versus blacks. I also like how the green and the white like mana symbol pop in the text box. Either way, I didn't know this Gavin Township existed until today, and I really like it. I'm a big fan of Gavin Township, and I think it's great in this deck. Next up, we have more effects that put counters on things. There's a few of these that I want to go through. Mael's Aria is a 3-mana enchantment that recurs this over and over. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control if you control a creature of power 5 or greater. So there is an if clause. So you have to work for this a little bit. Just your commander with a couple of counters on your commander carrying a 2-power equipment will get that prerequisite. And then you gain 10 life if you control creatures with power 10 or greater. And then you win the game if you control a creature with power 20 or greater. I like this card a lot because I don't see it very often. It feels like old tech from back in the day, long before Commander got power crept, but I do like the recurring element of it, and I do really like having a second alternate win condition on a random enchantment in the deck, so that you might just be able to grow a creature to an abnormally absurd height and then untap and win, or at least put that threat towards your opponent to deal with that. If you're enjoying this video, how about hitting the subscribe button? It really does help to support the show, support the channel, and help me to grow as a content creator. Oath of Ajani is the cheapest put a counter on all my things ability that I could find. It's also an enchantment, which means you can flicker it to get more value if you're like me and you can't stay away from playing flicker effects. It also makes your planeswalkers cost less. Mainly the one that I'd mention here is probably OG Ajani Steadfast. There's a couple of Ajanis that do this, but being able to play the original Ajani just to activate him and put counters on your entire team is really sweet in my opinion, because it's original Ajani. It's something you don't see very often. Would I play him if I was pushing this deck towards the most powerful I can get it? No. But if I was in a more middling power range, I'd definitely play original Ajani Steadfast. Then original Shalai is another example of this, a 3/4, 4-mana flying legendary angel that says you and creature you control have hexproof, and then for 6 mana you put a +1/+1 count on each creature you control. It's another way to pump your entire board and get a big trigger on your Shalai command. So we've done all of that, right? We've done all like put counters on your whole team. Well, okay, there's one we haven't mentioned actually before we move on, which is Cathars Crusade. This is an obvious one. This card is a nutso Magic card in Commander anyway, but I've got a bit of tech that I want to bring to people's attention and get people to play a bit more. Cathars Crusade is a 5-mana enchantment that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. It's very good. But what if we can get creatures to enter the battlefield multiple times a table rotation? Not just in your turn, but your opponent's turn too. There are a few ways to do this. Your Verdant Force, your Tendershoot Dryad alternatives. I'm not really in. I'm more into Norin the Were. A 1-mana 2/1 human warrior from Time Spiral. Whenever a player plays a spell or a creature attacks, remove Norin the Were from the game and return it to play under its owner's control at end of turn. Basically, Norin runs away. He has a bad feeling about this, to quote Star Wars on his own flavor text, and he runs the fuck away. And the great thing is he's very hard to interact with, because if you target him with removal, he runs. If you cast a Wrath, he runs. You really have to trigger an ability to kill him. You can't do it with combat or spell. He will leave, he will re-enter the battlefield at the end of turn, and he will trigger Cathars Crusade. Next turn, someone will be undoubtedly attacking or casting a spell, removing Norin, he comes back, triggers Cathars Crusade. These two cards together will end the game very quickly. Either growing your team to huge heights to win off of the aforementioned 3-mana Naya enchantment that wins if you have a 20-power creature, or just shooting people for tons of damage off Shalai, or good old-fashioned beatdown with a load of creatures with counters on them. I would obviously be silly not to mention doubling season and similar effects to get extra counters, hardened scales. There's a load of variants of this that I found quite unexciting if I'm honest, but they are things that you can play to push this deck further. And then you want damage doublers as well, Quest for the Pure Flame, Dictate of the Twin Gods. These things will speed up the combo. I wouldn't play too many of these, I think. I think being able to play cards that just make your guys fat and chunky, it's much better than enchantments that do nothing if you're really far behind. The great thing about Quest over other cards is that you can choose when it's active until end of turn. Playing a Dictate, although it's got Flash, or Furnace of Wrath or similar, means you're letting the whole table of double damage, which might be your downfall. And then don't forget All Will Be One, the 5-mana titular enchantment from the last set. I know times have flown by, this feels like a million years ago, but whenever you put one or more counters on a permanent or player, All Will Be One deals that much damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls. Interestingly, can't win a battle with it, but either way, way, this gives you another way to get damage from all the counter synergies that you're playing in your deck. I couldn't finish the video without mentioning Canker Bloom, which is my new favourite common from a set, because it's so versatile. If your deck will benefit in any way, shape or form from Proliferate, then having a 2-mana 3/2 with an activate ability to destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or just buff your entire board with Proliferate, or pump your planeswalkers, or pump infect counters, or whatever it is your deck is doing, I am a big fan of these versatile Proliferate cards. I might do a full deck tech on Shalia and Hallar when and if I build her once the set is out. I'm quite excited for her. I haven't got a Naya Commander built right now, so it gives me some room to play around in that space. Let me know what you think, and have I missed something obvious or a really powerful combo or synergistic game piece that I should include? I was looking for cards that give all your creatures lifelink, and there really isn't that many of them. I don't know if I'm going mad or I'm doing the Scryfall searches wrong, but True Conviction appears to be the only one. I think it's probably a solid include in the deck, but I'm actually shocked that we can't gain lifelink from an enchantment source in white more than once from 10 years ago. It seems like a really weird thing that I assumed existed a lot and just doesn't. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and please don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It helps to support the show. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.